It's 9 o'clock, and I call this meeting of the Texas Veterans Commission to order. Mr. Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am.
We will have Commissioner Mike Hernandez lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag, and Commissioner Chuck Wright lead us in the Pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. And I request Chip Osborne to come forward to lead us in opening prayer.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and opportunity to provide services to our veterans and their families across the Republic of Texas. Father, we ask that you be with us as our agency goes through the 89th legislative session. We ask for protection for all service members as they are serving our country and abroad, and especially for the loved ones waiting for their return home. Amen.
Next item on the agenda is public comment. And at this time, I open the floor to any members of the public who wishes to address the commission on matters under its purview. Please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. And remember, this is time for the commissioners to consider any public comments. Any discussion or deliberation by the commission for matters and not posted on the agenda must be limited to a proposal to place it on a future agenda or confined to statements of factual information or existing policy regarding the subject. I do have one person who signed up. Keith Wilson, would you mind if we wait till your agenda item is on before you speak? Okay, thank you. Anyone else forget to sign up or need to sign up? Okay. Hearing that, we'll move on. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. And at this time, does any commissioner wish to remove any items off the consent agenda and place it on our regular commission meeting agenda?
Not at this time.
Okay, anyone? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I heard a motion from Commissioner Dale and a second from Commissioner Barber. And all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to our presentations. Our first presentation is presentation by the Veteran Land Board regarding Veteran Homes TVC Claims Initiative. And I ask Darren Fitzgerald, the Assistant Executive Secretary, to give the report.
Madam Chair, board members, good morning. I'm Darren Fitzgerald. I'm the Assistant Executive Secretary for the Veterans Land Board, and I'll be presenting some information on the partnership we have with the Veterans Commission on reviewing disability claims to the residents of our homes. So we've been collaborating with the Commission since July of 2024, and it's been helping many of our veterans receive an initial disability rating or raising their current disability rating. And the veterans in our homes have realized a substantial benefit. What I'd like to do is kind of go over what the benefits are they could get from this review and then tell you some of the specific stats that we've noticed. So first of all, the veterans are able to participate at no cost to them. And any veteran that receives an initial claim assessment or an increased disability rating receives compensation from the VA. For veterans who get a disability rating of 70% or higher, they can now live at the home with no out-of-pocket cost to them. All of their prescription drugs and medications are covered, and they also get to keep their monthly VA disability check. Prior to that, if they were below 70, that disability check went to pay for their costs to stay in the home. There's also an overall benefit for the Veterans Land Board. When we have veterans that are above 70% service-connected disability, the VA pays a higher per diem rate, and we are able to use that to offset the cost to stay in the home for the other veterans that are not at that service-connected disability rating. And then the per diem reimbursement from the VA also helps the VLB homes remain financially self-supporting. So specifically in the last 6 months, since the claims specialists from the TVC have begun assisting us at our state veterans homes, we've had 16 veterans who've increased their disability rating to 70% or higher, 9 veterans who've received an initial rating because they had none to begin with, or their existing rating was increased to something that is still under 70% at this time. And then currently we have over 200 veterans that have claims packets currently pending at the VA in some status. So right now we have 1,256 veterans in our homes, and there's 200 of them that are looking at getting an increased rating, which is superb from our perspective. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my report, pending any questions you may have.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming over and briefing us on that, and appreciate this collaboration that we have. Anyone else have any comments?
I've had an opportunity to visit some of the homes, and I've heard what a difference it makes to be able to have the TVC there. So, definitely has been a plus to be able to work together and help our veterans out. So thank you.
Yeah, we're very happy with the teamwork, Matt.
Thank you for collaboration
Yes, sir.
with TVC.
Yep. And Tom has a comment.
So, Darren, thank you for coming here and representing Tony Dale and the Veteran Land Board. We do have a great partnership with the Veteran Land Board, and since you're here and doing your presentation, I just wanted to remind everybody watching that we have a very close relationship with the Veteran Land Board. We share a call center, right, that the Veteran Land Board maintains, which answers calls during the week on any services that VLB or TVC has. We also do veteran benefit fairs around the state, which we do about every quarter, which our communication director, Angela Wellner, coordinates with your staff. And I think we've had some wonderful ones, highly populated ones. The recent one was down in Hidalgo County in January. So we appreciate your cooperation on that.
That was a very successful event.
Yeah.
That's right. And then also I appreciate you inviting our commissioners to participate in all the veteran home openings or commemorations. And I know that we've had a number of our commissioners attending those, so I appreciate that as well.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
And the commissioner and Tony. So, I mean, the house looks outstanding. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate all your comments. We look forward to continuing the teamwork and collaboration as we go forward.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the only presentation we had for today's meeting. We'll move on to the report section of our agenda. We will start with agenda item 5A, which includes agency programs and division updates. I'll call on each division director, the deputy executive director, and the executive director to provide updates to the commission. First, we'll have Charlie Cato, who is the program operations division director.
Good morning, Chair Kerner, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino. For the record, I'm Charlie Cato, the Division Director for Program Operations. I want to start off talking a little bit about our claims department, and I want to add my thanks to our partners from the VLB. Thank you very much for the kind words and the partnership that we do with you guys. That really and truly is the teamwork that significantly improves the lives of veterans across the state, so we really value that. We have quite the schedule within the claims department to try to get somebody in those homes at least once or twice a month all across, and we're tracking it very well, and it has been very productive for both us and for the veterans we're seeing, so it's a great program. I wanted to get back to you. You approved rule changes previously about the VCSO Advisory Committee and changing to VCSO focus groups, so I thought an update on where the focus groups are was in order. We began coordinating. Our TVC mentor trainer liaisons are coordinating with the Veterans Service Organization, County Veteran Service Officers Organization Association of Texas to try to set these up. They started that coordination back in November. They're working with the regional directors for that organization. The initial response was a little underwhelming, but we're not giving up. The link and invitation for a virtual VCSO focus group on the 20th of this month has been sent out. We don't have, I was unable to get what the response rate is to that, but that's going to be our first virtual one, and we'll see and then we'll just keep pressing with it to try to improve it as we go along. But it is in progress, so we thank you for that. On January 27th, I had the opportunity to attend a groundbreaking for a community-based outpatient clinic in Abilene. Thanks to Commissioner Hernandez, he was there. He got to speak, and he actually handled the shovel to do a little bit of that dirt throwing, so that was great. The facility that's going to be opening in Abilene is going to double their space. They're going to go up to about 33,000 square feet, which is really nice. It was called a groundbreaking, but there's actually a facility there already. It's been vacant for a couple of years. They're going to renovate it. But some of the services, as they move in there, they're going to be able to expand. They expect to have dental. They expect to have radiology. And one of the creative things I thought was really interesting is they're going to have a urgent care, a drive-up urgent care, at least for right now, the 8 to 5 time frame, and they'll look at expanding on it depending on how it goes. So great opportunity in Abilene. Part of the reason I went out there was selfish. They do have office space for our healthcare advocacy department and for our claims department there, and I just wanted to make sure that was still on the blueprint, which it is. So we're looking forward to getting back into Taylor County with those two programs. One calendar event I wanted to make you aware of, the Claims Training Conference will be held again this year at the University of North Texas. It'll be our second year there in Denton, and that'll be July 14th through 17th. And we expect the registration to that for that event to open up in March. Moving on to the employment side, VES, in conjunction with our partners in finance, and a huge thanks to them, will complete all our inputs for the federally mandated statewide single audit this week. We expect that final report will be issued in the near future. So we'll let you know what those results are as we get them. Another calendar event for the employment department, the VES Symposium will be held here at Austin at the Barbara Jordan Building, August 26th to 29th. Moving on to veterans education, I wanted to give a shout out to David. Where are you, David? David's here. He's tired. He spent the last week in D.C. with the National Association of State Approving Agencies conference, and then sent me a note last night because of all the wonderful snowstorms there. We weren't sure he was going to make it in today, but he did. Tired, but he's here. David is the vice president of the National Association of State Approving Agencies, and he, with that, he was able to meet this week with a lot of the VA central office education folks and just kind of get the updates of that. First time I saw him was a couple minutes ago when he got in, so we'll get you an update on how that's going a little bit later. One thing I did want to pass on, in December, we received a notification from the VA of our annual rating from the VA, and we once again received a satisfactory, which doesn't sound great, but that is the highest rating that they give. So they met the education department, that team met all of their metrics and got the highest rating they could from the VA, which is great. Calendar event for veterans education, the Texas Association of Collegiate Veterans Program Officials Conference, what we all know as TAC-VPO, will be held at Lakeway February 24th to 27th. And that's where we're on the agenda as TVC to do a large portion of the VERA presentations, the Education Excellence Awards. Moving on to healthcare, they like to give a lot of numbers, so I'll give you a couple numbers. So far this year, they've closed out about 65% of their annual performance goals. They've done about 60% of their outreach program, and they had 714 outreaches, with 90 of those were specifically homeless veterans outreaches. So they're on their numbers and doing very, very well. I want to close here with a couple of some good news stories out of HCAD. In January, the Northwest District Supervisor in the Odessa Region Healthcare Advocate, Ms. Mary Paskey, helped a veteran that did not have proper dental coverage. She needed close to $2,500 in emergency surgery, and Mary was able to get the entire cost covered by a veteran nonprofit in the area. So a veteran that needed some really expensive dental care, by virtue of our healthcare advocate, got that paid for and got the treatment that she needed. Also in January, our HCAD Northeast District Supervisor and the Fort Worth Regional Healthcare Advisor, Gina Roberts, helped a veteran save his house from foreclosure. Not something you would think you would hear out of HCAD, but they get to see all of them. Ms. Gina Roberts helped the veteran. He owed $24,000 to Tarrant County in property taxes. After she explained to Tarrant County the physician's statement for disability homestead exemption, the veteran was ready to request that the VA primary care provider sign the form. And on January 22nd, the last day to retrieve the signature, the primary care provider faxed it to Tarrant County Appraisal District, and it was completed. Taxes were wiped away, and they saved an eviction. So, two great news stories coming out of HCAD. Just the very surface of all the good things that the folks do in program operations. That concludes my report. Subject to any of your questions.
Thank you, Charlie. Any questions?
No,
Thank you.
thank you.
Just a
Appreciate
quick
it.
comment,
Okay,
if I may.
Of course.
Had an interaction with your team member in Houston in the Katy facility, Ms. Washington, and her energy was infectious. She was just incredible. When you get off the elevator, she's sitting right there. She's greeting every veteran. And, you're either giving energy or taking energy, and she was giving energy that day. So congratulations to her. She did an outstanding job.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the Resource Management Division Director, Chip Osborne.
Good morning, Chair Kerner, commissioners, fellow colleagues, and directors. For the record, my name is Chip Osborne. I'm the Division Director for Resource Management. I'm here today to basically give a update within the legislative session dealing with our funding for FY 26 into 27. I am happy to report to you, if you recall now, we did the legislative appropriation request. I'm happy to tell you that Senate Bill 1 and HB 1, House Bill 1, both match with those dollars amount according to our LAR. In addition to that, they funded up front. Remember, we originally had 5 exceptional items. They funded 2 of those exceptional items for us up front as well. Those 2 exceptional items that they funded were the Veterans Mental Health Program with 8 FTEs. So I'm excited about that. The second one that they funded was our data center for all of our software license for our programs. We now have that as well. So now we have a revised exceptional item list, and I'm happy to tell you that Chair Kerner and Mr. Palladino, our executive director, did an excellent job over the Senate Finance hearing. They presented those remaining 3 exceptional items. And just for the record, just to remind everyone, the first one is the increase of the agency's operations support for current and future ops, because we've seen growth still being requested by our VA partners. With additional 35 FTEs, and I'll just give you the biennium amount, which is $8.8 million. And then the second exceptional item is a support services database with 1 FTE to help support that with a $2.6 million price tag for the biennium. And then lastly, we're asking for agency equity adjustments to put our salaries compared to our other partners that we have within Article 1 of the state agencies to be on the same equal level with the median average salary. And that comes in at $2.8 million. So the total ask is for additional 36 FTEs for a biennium amount of $14.3 million. And lastly, the performance measures have been updated in SB1 and HB1 that we have asked for. No more efficiency measures are labeled there. Also, we were able to get the mental health program with its own separate strategy, which is 118. We really needed that, and it will have its performance measures as well. And subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chip. Any questions?
I'll be followed by Michelle Null, our CFO, to give an update on the first quarter operating budget and our pending for FVA funding for you as well. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair Kerner, fellow commissioners, Mr. Palladino.
Welcome back.
I'm sorry.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be back. Thank you. For the record, my name is Michelle Nall, Chief Financial Officer for the Texas Veterans Commission. If you look at the documents that you have in front of you, I think there's two, but the one listed backup by department, that's more informational for you. So I'm not going to brief over that, but that's just for your information. But take a look, if you please take a look at the document labeled Fiscal Year 25 First Quarter Operating Statement, FEA Revenue Brief. This is a high level of the first document that you have been provided. This information is for the first quarter of the fiscal year through November 30th of 2024. Our actual expenditures for the agency were a little over $7.2 million. Of that was funded by $43.6 million. You see at the bottom of the page. Of that, $41.62 million is state dollars, which includes a little over $22 million in general revenue, and a little over $16.1 million is fund for Veterans Assistance, the 368, which is for the grants, the Fund for Veteran Grants. And then $1.9 million of that is federal funds for employment, education, and our transportation program, grant program. I would like to say for the quarter, we are at a 26% spending ratio if you don't take into account the Fund for Veteran funding set aside for the grants. So we are on target. Our finance meets with the program directors once a month to go over their budgets to ensure they are tracking and we don't anticipate lapsing any funds at the end of this fiscal year. Before I go on to the next page, you have any questions on this first page?
Commissioners, any questions?
Okay. Next page is the fiscal year 20.
1 second.
I'm
What
sorry.
are you looking for? You. Okay. We'll continue on while you. Okay.
Do you want me to?
No, you can continue.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the next page is the Fund for Veterans Assistance revenue estimation for the quarter. You will see there's the November 14th amount figures that was reported, and then I've got the February 13th revised figures and a change per quarter. Our lottery revenues are looking very strong for the last quarter as compared to last year's quarter. So hoping those continue on as we move through the fiscal year. Same with our unclaimed prizes. We got an extra almost $1 million more this last quarter than what we did last year at this quarter. For the UBs, last quarter I rolled it all up under that 10 million, but we have done some more cleanup, and I will say that 7.1 million is from 24, which includes 3 million of the contingency and then more actuals through the end of the fiscal year for 24 that we didn't anticipate closing out. So that you'll see a negative 2.8, but that's because I realigned there's 6.3 million de-obligations from 23 grant periods. So in all, there was an increase of 3.5 million in what we call UB from prior year 23 and 24 that can go for the current year grant cycle.
And Michelle, can you remind us, so de-obligations are grants that we awarded, but then they never expended the funds?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes.
in that year of 23, we awarded 37, however many million, but 6 million of it was never expended by the vendor.
Correct. And so then we have the authority to take those funds and move them forward to use for current grant cycle.
Okay.
Going on, unfortunately, our other revenue estimates are going down. I'm not sure why, but we will continue to track them as compared to last year. And then you will see for the general revenue we received for the service dogs for veterans program, I failed to pick up the 64,862 was one FTE that is to provide the to services for those grant awards. Moving down, I'm not going to go through every expense, but our expenditures went up a little bit, just under 300,000. So overall, for the quarter change, we had an increase in 6.3 million. Of this, we're projecting approximately 14.3 million in excess revenues when you take into account the 30 million for the RFA, which is for renewals and new grants, and then that 1 million for the service dog program. So we're looking pretty strong. These are estimates, but that concludes my brief, pending any questions you may have.
So what that's looking like is if we add the 30 million plus the 14,
Correct.
it's around 44
Correct.
we would have coming in May.
Coming in May. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And it may change, but that's what we're looking at
It
right
could
now.
change, yes, but we're hoping if the revenues remain strong, that number could possibly go up.
Okay. And what you may not know, maybe Tom can answer. What are we telling the advisory committee to work with? 30?
I think it's 30 million is what we're asking them to work with for the new applications. Is that correct?
30 million for the new applications. There is that 1 million set aside for the service dog program.
Okay.
That's
So plus
outside
$1 million.
this.
Okay.
So it's
31
30
million.
plus the 1.
But the 14 million, the estimated total revenue, that is for the new applications and the renewals.
Correct. So the 30 million is what the advisory committee has been given, which I'm assuming theirs are for the new applications or either, but the combined is for the renewal and then new applications.
Got
The
it.
14
Okay.
plus
So
the 30.
I think we'll hold on that one. I know Elaine's going to be coming up and talking. We'll ask her then. I think there's a little clarification. So we'll wait till then.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Kevin. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
No, appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much.
All righty. Chip, you're done? Okay. All righty. Next, we'll move on to agenda item 5B and have Shonda Bay, our Deputy Executive Director, please come up.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino, and guests. For the record, my name is Sean DeBay. I'm the Deputy Executive Director for the Texas Veterans Commission. I'll be going over the advisory committee process changes, and I'll be followed by James Crabtree, the Director for Government Relations, to give you a legislative update since we're in full swing of session, and then Angela Wellner to talk about, our Director for Communications, to talk about our social media metrics, which she did last year at this time as well. So I want to start with what's in your folder. You should have 2 documents in your folder. The first one is the current advisory committee processes and procedures. And you should also have the Fund for Veterans Assistant Advisory Committee members. There are 4 members that were appointed last November, so they started this calendar year. And I want to mention that for 2025 calendar year, there's no scheduled vacancies. So unless somebody resigns, we will not have any committee vacancies until the end of 2026. So that's a good thing. They did have a meeting yesterday to focus on annual training and then application requirements, as well as training those new members of the committee. So I'd like to focus now on the document that's the processes and procedures. What we wanted to do is give you an update on what's going on, since now, as you know, the last commission meeting, we had 3 advisory committee, and that we went ahead and you approved changes to the Texas Administrative Code 452.2, bringing that down to 1 advisory committee, which is the Fund for Veterans Assistance Advisory Committee. So what we wanted to do was, since we went from 3 to 1, and all of those different committees had different purposes and different reasons for being there, we wanted to redefine the purpose, tasks, and ensuring we outline the 3 key meetings for the Fund for Veterans Assistance Advisory Committee. We also wanted to define the member qualifications and add a restrictions section, which talks about conflict of interest and non-disclosure agreements, which the other advisory committees didn't have to worry about. And as you move down that document, we cleaned up some language regarding the selection process. There are really no significant changes to the selection process. We did add, according to Administrative Code, the information regarding the vice chair selection and also the responsibilities of the chair of the advisory committee. We do a regular evaluation every even numbered year, and there were no changes to that process. And then just lastly, we have an appendix showing the information given to the advisory committee members, which include the travel information needed for reimbursement, conflict of interest policy, and the non-disclosure policy, just to name a few items that we wanted to make sure that they had for them. That was just a brief description, but wanted to keep you aware of the changes we made based on the rule changes that were approved in the last commission meeting. So unless you have any questions for me, I can turn it over to James.
Commissioners, I just have one question. Have you considered maybe moving forward in the next time we have to select new members, adding the conflict of interest up front with the application?
Okay.
So that at the time you apply, you disclose those conflicts, because that might impact whether, we'd want to have somebody on there.
Absolutely, we could definitely do that.
Okay, I think we might want to consider that instead of doing it afterwards and then having to deal with anything.
Right. No, that's a good point. Thank
Okay.
you. Any other questions?
I don't
That's
think
it?
so.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm James Crabtree, the Government Relations Director for the Veterans Commission. Got a quick update for you. So as you may know, the 89th legislative session began on January 14th. It'll run till June 2nd. It's 140 days every 2 years. The old joke is that it should be 2 days every 140 years. The good news is the Defense and Veteran Affairs Committee, well, actually, I'll start with the good news, not the bad news. Good news, the Veterans Affairs Committee in the Senate remains essentially the same as last session. Senator Hancock remains the chair, Tan Parker's the vice chair, and then Senator Hagenbu is a freshman member who's a Navy veteran. Some of you may have met him. He's also on the committee, so he was really elated to be named to that. The bad news is that on the House side, the Defense and Veteran Affairs Committee was abolished as a permanent regular committee. It's been recreated as a subcommittee that falls under the Homeland Security, Public Safety, and Veteran Affairs Committee. And the House has still not yet named their committee chairs or members. Hopefully that will be soon. Latest it's been in recent memory was in 2017. They waited until Valentine's Day. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, so hopefully we will know that soon, and that will allow the House to begin having hearings as well. Back on January 29th, the chairwoman and Colonel Palladino did a great job testifying in front of the Senate Finance Committee. For anyone who hadn't had a chance to watch that, that's all posted on the Senate website. You can go back and watch. They were the last ones to testify that day, but it went very well, and they'll get a chance to do their testimony again, this time in front of the House Appropriations Committee, either on February 24th or 25th. We should know soon which day that will be. Couple things also to note. Hayden Davis has left us to take the position as the Nominations Committee Director in the Senate, and we're fortunate to have added to our government relations team Brad Burnett. Brad, if you'll stand up real quick. When we posted the position, we had immediately, in a couple of days, over 60 full applications. We narrowed it down to the top 4 applicants, and then we had a hiring panel that interviewed the top 4. And all 3 people on the hiring panel picked Brad as their number 1 selection. So Brad is a Army veteran. He was a combat medic, Iraq war veteran. He graduated from the University of Texas as a government major. And back in 2017, he did an excellent job serving as a student veteran intern for the Veteran Affairs and Border Security Committee in the Senate. And since 2019, he's worked at the Texas Medical Association. So he has a passion for veterans, and he has a knowledge of government and how the legislature works. Monday was his first day on the job, and we're very fortunate to have him aboard. And I'm sure when you have a chance to meet him, you'll agree that he's a great addition for our team. A couple other things to touch on real quick. Before Hayden left, he and I were able to go visit all 181 Capitol offices. It took us a couple days, but we went by and visited every member of the House and the Senate. Not only gave them our business cards, but gave them our biennial report, which the members love that. It gives them a really good overview of what our agency does. We also gave them copies of the Texas Coordinating Council on Veterans Services report, which the legislative directors love, because when they're looking to craft legislation to help veterans, here their homework has been done for them. They can go through there and they can see needs and recommendations that have been adopted by the commission. And so that's been very positive. So along with that, Colonel Palladino, I think, sent you the other day, updated bill tracker. Brad and I are tracking all legislation, not just TVC related, but veteran related. So if you ever have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us. And then Mr. Osborne already touched on the fact that 2 of our 5 exceptional items are already in the budget. So like Ted Williams, we're already hitting 400, but hopefully we get a few more. The goal is to get to 1,000, and we'll just keep working on it from there. And if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.
And James, correct me if I'm wrong, but that bill tracker, sometimes we get called up as a resource witness to some of those to comment on how it may impact veterans in the state or whether it's a feasible program.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's one of the main reasons why you have that tracker to track.
Yes, ma'am. And it's usually not so much the commissioners as it is folks like Dr. Harris or others that when it's a particular topic, they're the resource for it. Like I could see Megan Temez maybe being called because Senator Campbell has a bill that would make the franchise tax exemption for veterans permanent. They wouldn't have to revise it or approve it every 5 years. They may want to have her as a resource just to talk about the great benefit that program has been, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because I know we have many members of our staff, besides just the commissioners and the senior staff, that go before the legislator committees giving comment, and they do an amazing job, and you guys do a good job prepping, but I just wanted to recognize that. Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. James, doing a great job. You and Brad are our lead, right? You're the main points of contact with the legislature and the governor's office. So, just so everyone's awareness, the way we manage it is that James and Brad are our main points of contact. They're interacting with the offices of all the House and Senate members, Lieutenant Governor's office, and then they come back with the requests. And if there's a request for us to testify, and then we brainstorm who should go to testify on these bills. We don't testify for or against any bill. We're a resource witness. And so a lot of times the legislative members will contact us for a resource on some of their pending bills. And so we will give them information. We'll sit down in their offices, providing them as much information as we can so that they can make good decisions on modifying their bills. And then they'll call us to testify, and then we determine who goes on that scale. And then that's separate from the initial presentations that the chair and I do to the 4 committees. We do one at House Appropriations and Senate Finance. We do one in front of the House Defense Veteran Affairs, and we do one in front of the Senate Veteran Affairs. And then we go through the session, and we continue to help them with any information they need to make good decisions. Thank you, James.
Thank you, sir.
Angela, you next?
All right. Thank you. Good morning, Chairwoman Kerner, Commissioners, Executive Director Palladino. For the record, I'm Angela Wellner. I'm the Director of Communications and Veteran Outreach. Now, we recently updated our communications plan with new goals and success criteria for 2025. Now, one indicator that we are achieving that is, of course, our social media presence, which is expanding. Our success metric is currently set at a 5% audience growth annually, which you'll see in just a moment that we are definitely exceeding. We, of course, monitor and analyze our social media performance monthly, and that's the primary tool for our social media management platform, Hootsuite, which you're looking at right now on the screen. This is going to compare the social media performance of 2023 to 2024. We have 5 social media channels that I hope you're all following us on: Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So as you can see, just looking at this front page, we're posting more, up 22% from 2023. Impressions are also up 52%. That's the number of times that one of our posts shows up in someone's feeds. They're not necessarily liking it, but it's eyes on a post. Shares are also up, which is good. That means people are spreading the word, 25%. And the ever important engagement metric, which is also what we use as part of our performance measure, which is up nearly 80% from 2023. And I mentioned that our goal of increasing followers by 5% annually, we grew over 12%, as you can see right here, adding an extra 8,000 followers combined by platforms. I know you guys encourage and share our posts, and that definitely helps. So thank you so much for doing that. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few more of the metrics. As you can see, over 2 million impressions there. I also think one thing that is slightly down is clicks. That primarily looks like clicks are down on Twitter. This metric is only tracking Facebook and Twitter. It doesn't track our LinkedIn or Instagram, so it's only tracking those two. And usage has gone down a little bit on X just from what we're tracking. So that's what I account for, that downward trend in that one place. And then as you can see, comments are also up by 38%, which is a key driver of engagement. I always think it's fun to look at, too, what are the top posts that people like. Of course, it also drives what we use when we're planning our social media calendar. Our hiring posts do really well, as you can see, on basically all of our platforms. This top one you're looking at there, though, is Facebook. Also, one about, we'd like to share stuff from our partners, especially because veterans can get free park passes. So that's actually our second most popular one of 2024. On Instagram, you can see the one announcing the FVA grants that was shared by the governor's office came in number one. We had an economic post, again, hiring. On LinkedIn, our top post, again, was one talking about economic development, and we tagged our partner, the Texas Economic Development Agency. And then the second most popular was Chair Kerner being reappointed and Commissioner Wright being appointed. And then finally, Mr. Palladino and our claims department on a 4th of July celebration. It's always important to engage again with our state partners on X. You can see that our top one was a UT system, which was basically thanking us for, the Veteran Education Excellence Award and how much they enjoy working with us. One about Texas Women's retweeted with KXAN. That's our monthly show. And then again, one of our hiring events from employment, our folks working hard out there. YouTube, our top one as far as likes. Again, we're just tracking one of the engagement sources here, but was a video that we put together for Texas Veterans Women's Month. The second one is actually the one that we use for our monthly Q&As, which are open to the public and they're on Zoom. So if any of your folks ever contact you asking about, hey, where can I easily ask questions? That's a great resource too. We get someone from every department there. It's live, open to the public. Zoom at noon, second Tuesday of every month. And we try to advertise that a lot on social media as well. And then number 3 was one of our campaigns last year was our Military Veteran Peer Network. It performed very well, and we shared that, of course, on all of our platforms. Now, of course, these great numbers are thanks to the hard work of the communications team, especially Jim Hallbrook, who you're going to be hearing from in just a little bit here as he does the media awards presentation to you. He's our primary manager of social media, but also, of course, with our customer service support of Julia Connor, who does a lot of responding to veterans with questions there, and also shout out for the content support of Eric Alvarado and Crystal Whalen. So I'm excited to announce that we are soon going to be hiring a new social media content specialist for the communications department, growing it by one. I'd like to, of course, thank executives for their support of that, HR and finance for all of their help. This is, of course, going to expand our reach and expand our ability to inform veterans about the services that are available to them. And one final thank you to all of you commissioners for expanding the outreach and awareness of Texas Veterans Commission and our services. You may notice I put a little bit of promotional items and new benefit booklets up there, so please enjoy and continue spreading the word. I'm now open for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Angela. Any questions or comments? There's some great numbers, so appreciate all the hard work everyone's doing. And I know there's a lot of people on our staff that does a lot of reposting and liking too, so appreciate all their support as well.
So, Angela, I want to commend you and your staff for really raising the awareness of the agency services and partner services on our social media sites. You also presented me the other day with a communication plan with some of your goals for the future. So without putting you on the spot, can you highlight some of those goals that you as part of your outreach and marketing plan, so that the commissioners are aware?
Absolutely. Some of our goals that we have is we are going to be doing outreach to older veterans. So we're working on unrolling the campaign for that. So we're going to be doing a whole new web page, working with partner agencies, putting out flyers, branded campaign graphics. We're really working towards, which is one of the goals as well, more branded campaigns for Texas Veterans Commission, because when you have a cohesive message, it's more likely to be easier to spread, kind of like our Texans Asked, Did You All Serve? That was a successful campaign. Of course, one of our first was the Grants Across Texas for our FEA. And when you pull all those different articles together, whether it's a graphic that you're using or it's a special video that you're doing after each grant presentation, it really gives the audience something to know and expect, and is more likely to be shared. So, of course, more campaigns. We're doing that specific campaign. We're also going to be focusing more on video campaigns. That's one of the great things about the social media content specialists, is that they're going to be able to do more of that. And then we're going to be working more with our fellow departments who are great already about giving us success stories. That's how we're able to get the newsletter success stories that we have. And, we're also going to continue more event planning. You were mentioning the South Texas Veterans Resource Fair. It was great to see you there, Chair Kerner. And we had a very successful event. We're planning on June for Amarillo region. So we're going to be looking forward to that event next with our partners, the Veterans Land Board. Enjoy holding those. We think it's time we go to the Panhandle. We've done San Angelo, Tyler, Edinburgh, so now time to go up there. So we're going to be starting meetings more with our partners there. And we've got a lot of goals that we're going to be working on achieving. And it's thanks to your support that we're able to achieve those. Thank you.
Hey, Angela, I know the presentation was focused mainly on your social media. Can you talk a little bit about KXAN and our local TV presence?
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, Chairwoman Kerner. So we do have our monthly segment with KXAN, which has been very successful. We're coming up on nearly 1 year. Executive Director Palladino was our first guest to give an overview of the agency. Chairwoman Kerner was just on it discussing transitioning military, which of course is a very important topic for us to get out there. We've had basically every one of our departments so far has talked about their programs, and now we're cycling on new ones. Jim Halbrook, who again will be up here in just a little bit, has another exciting one lined up. For this month, we're going to be previewing women veterans, because next month is Texas Veterans Women's Program. So we're going to be bringing one of our women veteran partners as well as one of our women veteran coordinators there. And this really spreads the word. I send you guys those media reports every week, and it gives an idea of what our reach is and the publicity value. And of course, we're a public agency, so we don't consider the actual monetary value, but it still gives us an idea of what that would be worth in dollars. And so I recently updated some material for training with our general counsel, and I was looking at the numbers so far for FY25, and it had it definitely showed that we've exceeded so far the reach that we had this time last year into the FY as well by, I think it was at least 40%. So again, we're on a good trajectory. We'll hopefully be able to do even more targeted media outreach to specific markets. And that's the benefit, again, of getting another new team member, is it allows other team members who've been very busy with multiple tasks to be freed up to put a little more focus on even more media outreach, which again, we're very lucky to have Jim, who we'll hear from in a second, to be doing great media outreach for us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Angela. And I think next up is Tom.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Commissioners, all members of the Texas Veterans Commission, all our partners, everybody watching. I want to report that we're doing very well as an agency, reaching out to our veterans and their family members and survivors on multiple fronts. And we're daily, weekly, monthly inventing new methods to connect with them and then provide those services to meet their needs. And that's really the bottom line is what we do. So we've been spending time with the legislature, which we already had a presentation from James Crabtree. So we're going to continue that all the way till the end of the session, which will be at the end of May, beginning of June. We have training coming up, which Charlie Cato mentioned a couple of them, employment and claims training, but all the departments do training. So I want to assure everyone that when we hire, we have a very good onboarding process. We get feedback from the employees over their experience with onboarding, and it's a very positive experience. It's very thorough. And then we put them into training, And so we train, we hire, train, and then mentor as those people develop those skills, and then assess and then retrain. And we keep doing that because you have to have trained personnel in order to provide those services. And then we adjust as the quarters go on, especially in the big programs, employment and claims. They adjust their personnel. So they've developed some great software, employment and claims, and I give a lot of credit to those departments and Charlie Cato for operations working with them on assessing the workload, right? So we have performance measures returning to the legislature is how many claims we filed or how many veterans we helped. But behind the scenes, which we don't report to the legislature, but we monitor, is the workload and a number of appointments and, how many veterans that they see on a daily basis, how many they interact with. And it's a very large volume. So if the workload in one area is higher than the workload in another area, then we can shift. We can shift our resources in order to address the need. And some of the new staff, if we get them, will go to those areas, especially in the rural areas, to address the need in those rural areas. Ever since the pandemic hit, and actually even before, we were able to do remote services. We went from paper to paperless prior to the pandemic. And so that helped us during the pandemic to give 100% services remote. But now we're back in our offices. All our offices are open 5 days a week. We do still rotate staff. We still have a telework program because we've found out through experience that some veterans want to be seen face to face. There are other veterans that don't want to travel. They don't want to come into offices. They want remote services, whether it's by telephone or it's over Zoom or Teams. And so we provide services to veterans any way that they would like it. We have after-hour clinics. We have clinics on the weekends. We go to event fairs. We'll go to other organizations to provide services. We're co-located at military installations, county offices, higher education offices. We're at the VA, all at no rent. So we negotiated with them that it's all rent-free. And then we're at the Workforce Solution Centers at the 28 workforce boards as well. So we're out in over 75 cities throughout the state, meeting the veterans where they live to address the needs. So I want to thank everyone for doing that. A couple other things that I like to bring up, that we're planning a veteran summit. We used to do a veteran summit years ago, and we stopped doing it, about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago maybe. But what it is engaging with partners that provide services to veterans. So I want to announce that in the fall, in October, we're planning one where we bring in service providers from around the state, and they come in and we share best practices of how better to serve veterans. We're going to have this one focused on mental health and veteran treatment courts. I want to bring in veteran treatment courts that exist to share best practices and help new counties or counties develop new courts. So it's a way to share best practices and find out better ways to help our veterans. Elaine Zavala, the director at FEA, will come up in a little while to talk about the grant program. But as a reminder, those applications are being processed by the Fund Veteran Assistance Advisory Committee, and the commissioners will then award those grants in May, and for the next year as well. I will be attending the National Association of State Directors of Veteran Affairs. Charlie brought up that David does the one for education, so there's a National Association of State Directors of Veteran Affairs. With every state and territory has a similar position. I was the past president of an organization. We meet in D.C. in February or March. We're going in March this time. So I'll meet the new VA secretary and all the new VA leadership and interact with them and discuss with them better ways, or the needs we have down in Texas in order to serve our veterans. So that's all I have, pending any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions, commissioners? Oh, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for your reports. We're going to move on to the consideration section of the agenda. So first agenda item under consideration is 6A, action regarding the FY25 internal audit plan. And I'll ask Richard Galindo, a partner from Garza Gonzalez and Associates, to give the report.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Mr. Executive Director. Thank you so much for having us this morning. We are happy to be able to perform this work for the Commission. We have also performed work for various commissions throughout the state. I personally work on the Texas School for the Deaf. I'm here today to present the internal audit plan for 2025. This plan has been prepared based on a risk assessment. We identified 20 possible audit areas. We are recommending 2 for audit. Part of our process is the risk assessment, where we request many documents, charts, and forms, and we review those. We have circulated questionnaires to the key personnel of the Commission, and what we do is based on each of those 20 sections, we evaluate the risk factors. The 8 risk factors are materiality, size, and financial, time since last audit or review, the results of any prior audit, changes in personnel, policies, procedures, and processes, whether they are available and updated, compliance requirements, and fraud, waste, and abuse. And the 8th one is commission and management feedback that we may have received either from the commissioners or from the staff. Each risk factor is rated either low, moderate, or high, and we have an attachment. This is a 5-page report with 2 attachments, and the first attachment provides the rating for each risk factor and the total ratings for each item. Based on that risk assessment, we have 2 areas that were considered high risk, which are the Veterans Entrepreneur Program and the Records Management. We have 8 or 9 for moderate risk and 6 or 7 for low risk. And that is on page 3 of our report. We are also listing the audits that have been performed for the last 3 years to give us an idea of what has been audited recently. And to go along with that, part of our risk assessment determines the time since that last audit of each area. Our audit scope is based on the international standards for the professional practice of internal auditing and governmental auditing standards. The scope for each of any area selected would be the reliability and integrity of financial and operational information, compliance with rules, policies, procedures, laws, regulations, and contracts, the safeguarding of assets, effectiveness and efficiency of operations, and achievement of the organization's strategic objective. Page 5 is the actual internal audit plan for the 25. Based on our risk assessment, we are recommending 2 areas for audit, which would be the Veterans Entrepreneur Program Audit and the Women's Veterans Program Audit, which we're contemplating a limited scope of the women's program audit. We will perform follow-up of prior year internal audits that have been performed. In this case, I believe Weaver was the last auditor, and we will be following up on their reports. Our final procedure that we have right now would be the preparation of the internal audit report that we will plan to bring back to you before August of 2025. And then we would take on any other tasks that might be assigned by the commissioners. That is is my presentation, and if you have any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Richard, for going through the process. I appreciate that. Commissioners, any questions on the internal audit plan? Okay. We have no more questions. Do I hear a motion to approve the FY25 internal audit plan? Okay, so I heard a motion from Commissioner Hernandez and a second from Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. 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 And those opposed, say nay. Motion is approved.
Thank you. A little background on our firm. We've been in business for almost 50 years. Recently, we went through a transition where both of the partners, the founding members, have now retired, and there are 5 partners, including myself, that are keeping the firm going. And we specialize in governmental auditing and not-for-profit auditing. And one of my former auditees is here, Mrs. Nancy Teguata, or Ms. Teguata from Bexar County. And we were happy to work with her. And she survived our audit, so I'm sure you all will do fine.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, next agenda item is agenda item 6B, action regarding Fund for Veteran Assistance 24-25 grant renewal extensions. And I'll ask Elaine Zavala, our Director for Fund for Veteran Assistance, to give this report.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chairwoman, Mr. Palladino. For the record, my name is Elaine Zavala, Fund for Veterans Assistance Director. And first, I want to clarify, if I may, the previous discussion with Michelle Null, which we are very happy to have our finance team back, and Michelle and Lawrence. They are keeping us on track and helping us get ready for May. So the advisory committee, beginning last year, we stopped giving them available funding amounts because previously we were limiting the thought process in our advisory committee. The mission of the advisory committee, their goal is to provide the commission with either recommended applications or non-recommended applications. There is an awareness of funding amounts, but we do not focus on, for example, providing percentages of funding available for each category or each grant program. So I do want to make that a clarification.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you, because I know we had in the past, I wasn't aware of that change. So
yes,
appreciate the clarification. And now we're going to talk about renewals.
Yes.
Okay.
So now I will get to the consideration item. So this agenda item is presented for the Commissioner's consideration to extend 2024-2025 grants that are renewed for the 2025-2026 grant year from a 12-month grant period to a 14-month grant period without additional funding. So in your document, you have a consideration summary. That's kind of what I'm going through right now, if you'd like to follow along. While the 2024-2025 grants are not scheduled for your renewal consideration until May Commission meeting, we would like to provide a recommendation today to provide clarity for the FEA staff and the current grantees that are up for renewal. They have been very anxious to hear the decision from the TVC. Grantees considered for renewal at the May Commission meeting are held to the RFA from 24-25. That RFA specifies that the Commission may, in its sole discretion, exercise the option to renew the grant for one additional period. However, the 25-26 RFA that we are currently working on now, the grant year is structured as a 14-month grant. So this is part of a long-term plan to ensure that the 26-27 grants, right, we're talking a couple years ahead of us, will align with the state fiscal year beginning September 1, 2026, rather than our original start date of July 1. We want to get our grants on the fiscal year to help us better plan for performance measures and so forth. The FEA considered 3 potential approaches for addressing this issue. The first option considers a time extension with additional funding. So the Commission would renew 24-25 grants at the May meeting with an additional 2 months of funding and an extra 2 months in the grant period. making it a 14-month grant, allowing renewal grants to operate from July 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2026. This option would require awarding additional funds to support that 2-month extension. Currently, there are 137 grants potentially up for renewal. That total value is $33,740,000. The 2 months of additional funding for the 137 grants totals to $5,623,333. This would result in a total renewal amount. This is a possible, right? If the commission were to award 100%, we would be looking at almost $40 million. Then I'll move on to the second option we considered. This was just to leave the grant period as is with no changes. So therefore, the 24-25 grants would continue with a 12-month period as specified in that RFA, and they would end at their original end date of June 30th, 2026. The third option is to provide additional time without additional funding. The commission would allow renewal grants to operate for an additional 2 months with remaining funds at their current grant amount. With this option, the grants would either end when their funds are expended or on August 31st, 2026, whichever one comes first. Staff is recommending option 3, extending time without additional funds, as it addresses the alignment issue with no additional financial support. And so historically, data shows that most grantee organizations do not spend all of their awarded amount within the grant period. Therefore, extending the period by 2 months would allow grant renewals additional time to fully execute their grant and allow them time to spend that their funding as well as serving veterans too. As we talked about, the anticipated available funds for all of our FVA grants, including the Service Dog program, the VCSO funding, and all grant renewals, is estimated at $31 million for the 25-26 grant year. And as I stated, 137 grants are eligible for renewal at a potential value of $33,740,000. So option 1, adding the 2 months of additional funds to these renewals would increase us again to almost that $40 million over our projected RFA amount. Providing additional funds for renewals could significantly reduce the available funding for new applicants in 25-26. This reduction would limit the number of diversity of organizations able to receive a grant, potentially impacting the reach and scope of services delivered to veterans and their families across Texas. This agenda item is presented to the Commission because the 24-25 RFA explicitly states that this is that the Commission may, in its sole discretion, exercise the option to renew the grants for an additional 1-year period. Therefore, the Commission has the authority to modify the conditions of grant renewals. So our recommendation to the Commission is that the Commission make a motion to extend 24-25 grants that are renewed for the 25-26 grant year for 14 months without additional funding.
Thank you, Elaine. We appreciate the details. Any questions, commissioners? Just so. Sure. Well, we're not going to be talking about it anymore. This is the question and action period, and then after the motion, it's just us discussing. Okay. You need to turn your microphone on, please, Kevin.
I'm sorry. What is our percentage? 137 grants are eligible for renewal. Is that how many do we? I mean, is that everyone?
That is everyone that potentially could be renewed if they met the renewal criteria of meeting 60% of their performance measure. So previously, we have looked historically back at the Commission's actions for renewals, and we looked back, I think, 2 or 3 years. We pulled that data, and we came up with that the Commission has, you have approved about 60% of all renewals that are up for that extra year.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want to get out over our skis by.
Sure. Do you want me to go over that amount of funding, those totals, versus looking at the 100%?
if it would help everyone, so we know once we get in there,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Because our great finance team has done those scenarios for us. So 100% renewals with just the time, right? That would be the 33,740,000, and according to, with our that extra 14 million, that would leave 10.5 million for new grants. Okay, so that's 100% if they got all renewed. Now let's go to the 60% that historically we've seen the commission approve. That would be 20.2 million. Then that option would leave 24 million for new grants. Then if we did 60% of the renewals with the 2 months in funding, that takes us back down to 20.7 million. Okay. So let me know if you want me to repeat that. So with no funding, your actions will probably leave 24 million for new grants. If we did the additional 2 months, we would be down to 20.7 million for new grants.
Okay. Thank you, Elaine. That was very helpful. Just to clarify, so the 137 that are up for renewal, those were the ones that gave new grants last May.
That's correct.
Okay. Because the ones that were renewed last May would have to apply again.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One other clarification. So we've already voted for the new grants that we're going to vote on in May to be 14 months.
That's correct.
This is just bringing the renewals up to that same standard that we had for the new grants.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And when we set the policy for the new grants, the dollar amount that they're going to request is going to be based off of the 14 months?
Can you repeat that?
So when the new grantee applicants, when they went to apply, they knew it was going to be a 14-month grant. So when they requested dollars, they took that into account.
That is correct. And the commission also approved additional funding limits as well. We also upped the limits in August as well to account for that 14-month increase.
Okay. And I do remember, without the details, that the vast majority of the grantees don't use all of their dollars.
Correct.
But we also still have this process, which we'll see here in a moment, that if a renewal grantee or any grantee feels they need more dollars, they can always come back to the commission and ask for it based off of their performance.
That is correct.
And so that will still remain. So even if we don't add more dollars but extend the time, they still have that opportunity to come before us and ask for additional funds if needed.
Correct.
Just like we're about to see for several. Okay. I appreciate all that. Any other questions? Okay.
So to that point,
Is this a question?
yes,
Okay.
it will be. Let me set it up. And this is where I think I had a little bit of confusion before, because we set a top end cap for all of our grants. With what you just said, are we saying we will exceed that for a grant requestee who comes back looking for more money?
I don't think I understand your question. When you say we set a top end cap, what does that mean?
So legislatively it's set up, and I'm not sure where it's going to go, so bear with me. It used to be $500,000 in the general grant request, and then it changed, and mental health, I believe, was $400,000.
You're talking about grant limits. So I think you're asking, we allow the application to come to the Texas Veterans Commission and submit an application. Right. In our request for application, we do set application funding amount limits.
Yes.
For example, like what you were talking about, some of our statewide grants were $500,000. I believe we've increased those to $600,000.
Yes.
So we have the organization has the ability to come to us with their proposed budget and their proposed funding amount they would like to be awarded. Am I clarifying that part?
You
for
are.
You?
Where I'm leading with this is, do we have the ability to exceed that, or are those legislative amounts that are set by the state?
No, we set that in our rules.
Okay, thank you.
And I think one of our
Yes.
upcoming agenda items will address that.
So I'll give an example. The rules that we set, we can waive. So we do this every year when we choose to renew grantees that may not have met our original standard. We say, let's waive the rules and allow us to renew a handful of grantees that may not have met the original standard for one reason or another. So we have the authority to waive our own rules. Okay. Any other questions?
Now, I think just for clarification, so I think the question was, if we gave somebody $600,000, they had the cap, and they come back and ask for more money, we can waive it. Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear.
Well, they would have to come and request an amendment, just like the agenda items that we're looking at right now.
Yes.
Right. They can't apply for more than the cap, but if they go to expend it all, they can come back and ask us.
I'm just clarifying that for the upcoming one, that we can exceed it if that was the case, if they come and request it. I think that's what the question was.
Okay, but Chip he's dying back there, so I'm going to call him up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, again, my name is Chip Osborne, Division Director of Resource Management. So I want to clear the mud. I think we might be getting a little bit confused on some language here. Okay, so our agency does a floor, totally different from a ceiling cap. We have ceiling caps embedded in the grant. However, you have the authority because we do it as a floor. Remember, we did an RFA out to the public out there for organizations. The floor was $30 million because revenue continues to come in. And at the very end in May, when we come back together, Michelle and the team, we're going to give you another number. And that will become the new floor.
That's right.
Amount. Okay. In our GAA, yes, sir, Commissioner, right? There are dollars there. Those are all estimates. Okay. So consider those as floor. Okay. Floor amounts, not caps. Okay.
But you're talking about for the full amount of budget we have available for all grants. I think the question specifically was regarding individual grants and individual grant limits on what they can apply for when they go through the RFA process.
Yeah. And we do establish those in the RFA.
That's right.
To help those grant programs. They apply for that. They execute that. And if they need more, you have the ability, like you said earlier, to waive that, to exceed that limit and establish a new limit. No problem.
It's a waive when we're in the meeting, but if they apply, it's an amendment.
That is correct. That's
right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Are we all clear?
Yeah, but I have a follow-up question on that.
So Elaine, come back up. Follow on question. You're not going anywhere for a while anyways. I know.
Kinds of questions for you. No, actually, so let's say they've applied for the amount that they were given and they come back and say, we need more money. I guess, how do we account for, is that coming out of a new budget? Is that coming out of the original budget of the grant that we had when we awarded it?
Hold on one second. Can we hold this question to the next agenda item? Because that is actually one of our next agenda item.
Okay, sure.
Okay, because we are going to be looking at one of those amendments and we'll talk about what budget it is.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
But you'll be the first question.
Okay.
So there was no question?
Not
for
right now.
We're going to hold the question.
Okay, so for this particular agenda item where we're looking to do a grant renewal extension, any questions on that?
No. Can we make a motion?
Yes. Do you want to just do it or do you want me to? Then okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to extend the 2024-2025 grants that are renewed for the 25-26 grant year for 14 months without additional funds?
So moved.
And do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Wright. Now, is there any discussion on the motion on the table? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Now we're going to go to the next agenda item. Elaine is going to be here for a while. First one is an amendment request increasing the grant amount for USA Cares. And I'll ask Elaine Zavala to give this report. And please address the question Commissioner Dale has
Yes.
too. Okay.
And I will probably ask Michelle Null, our CFO, to make sure that she answers that question for me because I am unsure. Michelle, yes, please.
Can you make the presentation first and then Michelle can answer? So.
All right. So you'll stay right here, right? In your commission folder, there's 4 attachments for you. Number 1's a summary that I will be going over. Number 2 is the organization's actual request to increase their grant amount. Number 3 is the organization's application. And number 4 is their compliance visit report that I'm happy to say there were no compliance findings there. So this agenda item is presented for the Commission's consideration regarding USA Cares amendment request for an additional $250,000 in grant funds and to increase their performance goal by 100 veterans. So USA Cares was initially awarded a $500,000 grant, general assistance statewide grant to serve 240 veterans for the 24-25 grant year. This program provides critical financial support for rent, mortgage, utilities, and transportation assistance to eligible veterans facing financial hardship. The organization is currently serving twice the number of veterans they originally anticipated each month, showing an increased demand for services. 100% of their grant is used for direct client services, meaning this organization does not use TVC grant funds for any operational costs. It goes directly to veterans. As of January 16th, 2025, USA Cares has utilized 100% of its grant funds and has overachieved their performance goal at 105%. Therefore, $250,000 will allow USA Cares to serve 100 more veterans by the end of the grant period, June 30th, 2025. USA Cares, this is a statewide grantee, and notably 52% of their veterans they reside outside the state's most populated counties, meaning that they serve very rural areas. And lastly, the organization, I want to reiterate, their grant funds go directly to veterans in their direct services to critical needs. The current Fund for Veterans Assistance budget may accommodate this $250,000 increase. However, approving this request for additional funding could reduce the total funds available for future applicants. This amendment is before the Commission because it involves an increase to the grant award, which requires Commission approval. While the Executive Director can approve amendments that modify budget, grant period, or project scope, any increase in the award amount must be approved by the Commission. The FVA recommends that the Commission make a motion to approve USA Cares amendment request for an additional $250,000 in grant funding and an increase of 100 beneficiaries to its performance goal for the 24-25 grant year.
Thank you, Elaine. Michelle, if you could talk a little bit about that budget comment.
Sure. For the record, my name is Michelle Null, Chief Financial Officer for TVC. As Elaine mentioned, if we do grant this additional increase, it will reduce the funding that I recently reported of the approximately 14.3 or the 30 on, 14.30, but in total 44.3, it would reduce that amount for future grant awards.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So the same fund.
Same, yes.
Okay. One second. You want to make a comment, Tom? Okay, go ahead.
Please. Michelle, since you're here,
yes, sir.
Does that account for the anticipated unencumbered balances of the current grantees for this current year?
For the current year, for the 2024 that was awarded last May, we have not anticipated any unencumbered. There will likely be some in unencumbered funds, but at this time we don't know. We're funding the full amount that was awarded for each grantee.
Okay. But as we know from past performance in data, that there will be a certain amount of unencumbered balance that is going to go from this current grant year to the next.
But
Correct.
it's prudent
Yes.
right now to stay on that path. So
I'm sorry?
it's prudent right now to value it the way we're valuing it.
Yeah.
So
Correct. But
Any other questions, commissioners? I know I have
I have
one.
one.
Okay, go ahead.
Where are they located? Where's their office?
I am unsure where they are at. But
I mean, they're based
their
in
statewide
Kentucky.
grant.
I guess we could look at the application, Kevin, because they probably have their
I couldn't
address
find
on-
it. I mean, I went online to find it, and I couldn't find where they had a Houston chapter. They call them chapters.
I have Joanna. She's taking a look right now.
No worries.
Commissioner, I looked that up, and it appears the CEO is operating out of Louisville, Kentucky, and the report that we're looking at is in 2024, and appears that he was going to resign or retire from that. So I do not know if USA Cares is based in Texas or in Kentucky. So I just wanted to check, see where their origins are.
So they may be based in Kentucky, but in order to apply for our grants, they must be able to operate here in Texas.
So we'll have you come back with that information on the location in Texas of where you would go.
Also, I just want to add to the unobligated grants. We don't determine that until they start doing their grant closeout process. So that won't be determined until next fiscal year.
Thank you. Yeah. Kevin, any other question? Okay. So I do have one question, Elaine. So I think it was alluded to in the summary report, but I just want to make for clarification. This was a new grantee for this current year, correct?
Yes, correct.
So that means this grantee would be up for renewal in May.
I apologize.
So because this is a new grantee, this grantee will be up for renewal in May.
Correct.
If we award them another $250,000, making their current award $750,000 for this year, when they come to us next month for renewal, will it be for $500,000 or will it be for $750,000?
That is a great question. That's
why I asked it.
We are. Yes, we will be presenting to the commission all renewals at their original amount that they were awarded at the 24-25 grant period, because the commission could make this award right now, right? And what if they don't end up using this funds? What if they don't end up what if they don't meet their performance that they're expecting to with this funding? What if they just run out of time? So therefore, we're going to go back to their original grant amount, and then
and as always, we could always
again.
grant them more or less than what you present, just like any other grantee.
Yes.
Okay.
And I do want to say that for this RFA, that limit for a statewide grant was $500,000. So in this scenario, we are going over that
And that's fine
limit.
because that's only a limit of what they get asked for during the application. It's not a limit of how much they can spend, or unless if the commission wants to give them more.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. So,
and Commissioner Barber, back to your question, we have found that they do have an office here in Austin where they operate. Yes, we have provided a compliance summary visit. Yes, attachment number 4. So our compliance team went out and provided a review of eligibility documentation, process management, grant management of their funds, and we have not found any findings.
Okay, Tom, do you have a question?
Was that compliance visit in person, or was it a online compliance visit?
That was an on-site compliance visit.
All right, thank you.
Yes, our compliance team does do desk reviews in addition to on-site compliance visits. That is our goal for compliance, is to get out there to see that it's actually an operating organization, and then go through our processes and procedures.
Okay. Thank you, Elaine. Any other additional questions?
I know, exactly.
Do I hear a motion to approve the amendment request to increase the grant amount for for USA Cares for additional $250,000 in grant funding and an increase of 100 beneficiaries to its performance goal for 24-25 grant period. Do I have a second? I second. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you. So the next agenda item is action regarding amendment request to increase the grant amount for Austin Dog Alliance. And I'll ask Elaine to present this as well.
Okay, in your commission folder, first attachment is the summary I will be going over. Number 2 is the organization's request for additional funding. And number 3 is the application of this organization. So this agenda item is presented for the Commission's consideration regarding Austin Dog Alliance's request for an additional $100,000 in grant funds and to increase their performance goal by 1 service dog. The Austin Dog Alliance was initially awarded a $255,000 service dog grant to provide 5 dogs for the 24-25 grant year. This program provides fully trained service dogs to veterans diagnosed with PTSD, TBI, or MST. As of December 31st, 2024, the Austin Dog Alliance has utilized 46% of its grant funds and successfully provided 4 out of the planned service dogs, achieving 80% of their projected performance. The FEA completed a compliance visit with this grantee on January 29th, 2025, and there were no findings reported. I did not have the report summary ready to provide to the Commission at this time, but I am reporting that there were no findings. Assistance Dogs International estimates the cost of training a service dog to be between $50,000 and $60,000. Austin Dog Alliance's current grant amount provides 5 dogs at approximately $51,000 each. If this amendment request is approved, the revised cost per service dog would be $59,000 and $166, aligning with the average unit cost between that $50,000 and $60,000 range. Our FEA budget can accommodate this $100,000 request. However, again, approving this request could reduce the total amount for future grants. Again,
is that really true though? Because, well, I guess it is. Yeah. We're still going to set aside $1 million for service dogs regardless.
Yes. And we do have this, well, maybe I won't say that because it might be off topic, but there is a new grant application for service dogs in the 25-26 pool.
To increase it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, another one?
Another one.
Okay. All righty. But it will take it from the whole pool, just not from the service
Correct.
dog pool. Got it. Thank you.
That's true. So the FEA recommends that the Commission make a motion to approve this request for Austin Dog Alliance, an additional $100,000 in grant funding to provide 1 additional service dog for the 24-25 grant period.
Madam.
Any questions?
Quick question.
Yes.
How much excess did we have? I recall $100,000 excess and the $1 million. We didn't grant $100,000 of the $1 million.
We did not.
Correct?
There were 4 organizations, and I believe we were at $985,000. 15,000, and then the 64,000 that Michelle reported on was for the salary and travel costs of an employee.
Any other questions on the request?
I think I went back and looked just as we're looking at totals. I believe it was 6.3 million in de-obligation last year. That, I mean, I know we can't do that for sure for what we anticipate, but was that correct?
Yes. Well, for the 2023 grant period, 6.3, correct. And I will say that, as Commissioner Barber mentioned, the difference that was unobligated for that $1 million for the grant service, we'll use that first, and then it will come out of the remaining funds.
Okay.
Yeah. One other question. My math might be off, but we said between $50,000 and $60,000 to train a dog, correct?
Correct.
So they're requesting 100,000 for one dog.
Well, so this organization bills or asks for reimbursement differently than other organizations in this service category. So larger organizations are doing actual unit cost. So when a dog graduates, they ask for reimbursement of between $50,000 and $60,000. This organization estimates that each dog that they have provided cost that amount. Therefore, this dog will cost $60,000, and that remaining $40,000 will also be used to provide the other remaining dog. So they provide 4 out of 5. So they have one original projected dog left, and then they're adding an additional one after that. So this, I see what your math is doing, right? You're saying 60,000 per dog, but they're just asking for one dog, and they're asking for $100,000. That's because they still need a little more money for that remaining projected service dog in our talks with the organization.
That makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the Austin Dog Alliance's amendment request for an additional $100,000 in grant funding for one additional service dog for the 2024-2025 grant period?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those approved? And those opposed? Motion is approved. Okay. And you're still a few more, right?
Yes.
Okay. This one is an action regarding amendment request to increase the grant amount for Canine for Companions. And I will have you present this as well.
Thank you. In your commission folder, number 1 is the summary. Number 2 is the organization's request. Number 3 is their application. We do not have a compliance visit report for you because it is currently being scheduled, and we can provide that at a later date. This agenda item is presented for the commission's consideration regarding Canine Companions amendment request for an additional $250,000 in grant funds and to increase their performance goal by 5 service dogs. Canine Companions was initially awarded a $100,000 service dog grant to provide 2 dogs for the 24-25 grant year. They provide fully trained service dogs to veterans diagnosed with PTSD, TBI, and MST. As of December 31st, 2024, Canine Companions utilized 100% of its grant funds and provided the 2 service dogs, successfully completing the program's projected performance goals. Therefore, $250,000 will allow Canine Companions to serve 5 more veterans with fully trained dogs by the end of the grant period, June 30th, 2025. Assistance Dogs International says the cost is $50,000 to $60,000. Canine Companions' current grant, which funds 2 dogs at approximately $50,000 each, aligns with those standards, as does their additional funding request of $250,000 to support 5 more dogs. We can accommodate this request of $250,000 increase, but again, it will impact future grants. The FEA recommends that the commission make a motion to approve Canine Companions' amendment request for an additional $250,000 in grant funding and to increase their service goal by 5 dogs to its performance for the 24-25 grant period.
Thank you, Elaine. Any questions?
Yes. We're talking about 150% increase in a grant. We haven't done a site visit?
We have not. Because they reported their December completion of their grant funds. That report came in January 15th. The grant officer approved it, then communicated to our compliance team, hey, this grant basically is completed, and now we're in the process of scheduling that compliance visit. Our service dog programs, we've been in contact with them every quarter. We've done kind of like a town hall with them to discuss any problems, any issues. They have been experiencing. And Canine Companions was a very cut and dry grant, providing 2 service dogs. And because they have completed their grant, we wanted to go in and check on them, provide them their compliance visit that was not previously scheduled.
I'd just like to see some guardrails. I mean, if we're going to have these come in here, I'd like to see a site visit on each one. This is a large amount of money above and beyond what they've requested. So I'd like to see some
Sure.
guardrails put on that.
Okay. You're teeing up my question. So in general, for site visits, what normally triggers a site visit for a vendor? Obviously, we don't go to 137 or however many.
That is
So
correct.
how do you schedule your site visits, and does an amendment drive a site visit?
So to answer that question, amendment does not drive a site visit. What our compliance team does, when the grants are awarded in May, they go through a high risk assessment or basically a risk assessment. And if an organization is deemed high risk, they are one of the first organizations to go out and get a compliance visit from us. A high risk grantee would be a very high dollar amount grant, a grant that covers a large geographical area, a grant that has not received a grant in the past couple years, a grant that had reported compliance findings that were not resolved, items like that.
Okay. And in this situation, this grantee would not meet that criteria.
Not meet a high risk, yes.
So for the non-high risk grantees, how do you determine when to do site visits for them?
That is depending on our compliance team's travel schedules. So this year we have really combined efficiency in that team, because when they go out to Houston, they are out there for 5 days. They are starting compliance visits the minute they get in. We have them going out to about 2 sites a day. And so they're able to cover a lot of ground. But again, our grant amounts have increased, and also the number of grant organizations have also increased tremendously. And that team used to be a team of 3. We are currently at a team of 5, thanks to the service dog funding. And we hope to continue to increase our compliance site visits as well.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that answer. Tom.
Elaine, also, every grantee organization works with a grant officer in your department, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So from my understanding, if the grant officer, every single month, the grantee organization submits in documentation for reimbursement of expenses, because it's a reimbursement grant.
Correct.
So my understanding is, if you could confirm this, that if the grant officer determines some red flags or some discrepancies with the documentation submitted, then they contact the compliance team that triggers a visit. Is that
Yes, that is absolutely correct. And that also kind of alters the original compliance visit schedule, because we do have those few organizations that have raised red flags and need to get visited very soon.
One more question. So you mentioned previously that it takes about 6 months to train a service dog. Okay.
Did I say that?
You did. And this extension goes to June, which from my calculations is less than 6 months away. So are these dogs already in training? And as if not, I mean, you mentioned that some of these service dog providers don't submit their expenses until the dog is fully completed in training. Right. Would they even be submitting these expenses within the grant year?
So to go back to
Mathing
what
over
I said, that is, I misspoke on that, because you will hear these service dog grantees talk about how it takes 18 to 24 months to train a service dog. And that's well beyond a year grant that the TVC provides. Then to the second part, in conversations with these organizations to present these requests, they are confident that they have dogs already in the pipeline that are going to be graduating by this end of year. So for example, we are not taking, these dogs are not starting from the ground up.
They're already in the pipeline.
Exactly.
And so they're ready to go and ask for additional funds.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one question.
Yes.
On the geographical area of that the vendor services, is that statewide or is it limited to an area in Texas?
Specifically for canine companions, I will have to get back with you on that.
What does that statewide?
Their application is in your folder that I don't have a.
Okay, let me take a look.
Okay. They're in the hill country somewhere, but
And
I
it
don't
will
know where
show
they
their
sit.
geographical service area.
Let's see.
Statewide? Yes. So they can receive applications from any veteran statewide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve Canine Companions Amendment request for an additional $250,000 in grant funding and an increase of 5 dogs to its performance goal for the 24-25 grant period?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion, commissioners?
I would definitely like to know how their compliance comes out. I mean, I don't know if I can make an amendment to the motion, but I'd like that to be subject to the fact that they pass their compliance review.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll assume that's a motion to amend with the past compliance review. Do we know when that's scheduled?
I was in contact with our compliance supervisor yesterday, and he said very shortly or very soon. But I will get back with you on that because it has not been actually scheduled yet.
Okay. So we have an amendment to the motion on the table to amend the motion, saying what was the terminology?
Pending, subject to approval of their passage of the compliance.
Okay. So the motion is, do I hear a motion to approve Canine Companions Amendment request for the additional $250,000 in grant funding and an increase of 5 dogs to its performance goal for 24-25 grant period pending a successful compliance visit?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
Okay. Any discussions on the amendment? Okay. I like what you were adding there, so that's great. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. And those opposed, say nay. Okay, so now we just amended the motion. Now we have to vote on the main motion. So now we're voting on the full motion.
So one quick. So Mary carried that motion, correct, for the record?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
And now we're on the main motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, we're moving on to the next agenda item 6F, which is the amendment request to increase the grant amount for Bexar County Commissioners Court VCSO. I will have Elaine do the presentation first. After your presentation, we'll have the public comment.
Okay. All right. So in this commission folder, you have the summary, organization's request, and the application. In speaking with our compliance team, this was not considered a high-risk organization. Therefore, we did not have a compliance visit completed on this. And pending commissioners' approval on this agenda item, if approved, we can also schedule a compliance visit at your request. So this agenda item is presented for the Commission's consideration regarding Bexar County VCSO's amendment request for an additional $125,000 in grant funds and to increase their performance goal by 50 additional clients. Bexar County VCSO was initially awarded a $300,000 general assistance grant to serve 220 clients for the 24-25 grant year. This program provides critical financial support for rent, mortgage, utilities, and transportation assistance to veterans facing financial hardship. As of January 29th, 2025, Bexar County VCSO has utilized 76% of its client services budget. So we are specifically talking here about what they're providing their veterans. So we're talking about the client services budget. They originally had $167,855, so they've spent 76% of that. They've served 122 of their projected 220 veterans and family members, so that's just over 55.5% of performance served. With about $40,000 remaining in this client services budget, the grantee can only serve 38 more clients at an average cost of $1,050 per client, falling short of their projected goal. So right now they don't have enough money from what they're seeing to serve to get to their projected performance of 220 veterans with the current amount that they have in their budget. So the additional $125,000 going directly to client services funding would increase that table from $40,000 to $164,866, allowing them to serve their remaining 98 clients and the additional 50 clients, reaching a total of 270 veterans and family members. The Bexar County VCSO, they are reporting average expenditures of $1,050 per client, and with the $40,000 remaining, they can only serve that 38 with that math. The additional $125,000 allows them to meet their projected performance goal, and the additional 50 clients at around $1,100 per client for housing, utilities, and transportation. We can accommodate this request of $125,000. Again, it'll impact future grants. The FEA is recommending that the commission make a motion to approve Bexar County VCSO's amendment request for an additional $125,000 and to increase their client's performance goal to, of an additional 50 for the 24-25 grant period.
Okay. Thank you, Elaine. Is there any questions on the presentation? We can call you back up afterwards for more questions after public comment. Okay, so let's have, I believe we have Keith Wilson from the Bexar County Military and Veteran Transition Center, who will be speaking on behalf of the organization requesting the amendment.
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Keith Wilson. I'm a Texan. I'm a retired soldier, and I'm the director of Bexar County's Department of Military and Veteran Services. And I will confirm we are an in-state entity here in Texas.
I've been there before, Keith. I've seen it. Okay.
And I did want to say, we talked earlier about USA Cares. I don't know if they have a physical presence in San Antonio, but we have referred clients to USA Cares. They had a quicker turn on some payments than we were able to. Obviously, the county, purchasing process is a little slower. So we have used USA Cares to augment and complement the work that we're doing. I just wanted to bring that up. I am here to speak about the 2 Fund for Veterans Assistance grants that we received last summer for financial assistance and peer support. Though the grant started 1 July, the process of us getting the staffing of positions and hiring, we didn't actually begin implementing it until late September, early October. So I want to talk about the success of our 2 programs over those last 4.5 months. And I do have some updated numbers from what we provided a few weeks ago with this packet. I'm going to first talk about financial assistance. We received $300,000, as was mentioned. That allowed us to hire 1 case manager and 1 intake specialist. And it gave us about $167,000 in direct assistance to support our residents, our clients. To date, we have approved over $150,000 in direct assistance, with the preponderance going to rental assistance of about $70,000 or 46% of our fund, followed by mortgage assistance and utility assistance, both of those at about $35,000 or 23% respectively. So the bulk of the assistance we provided was directly related to housing and staying in their homes. We assisted 153 clients, including veterans, dependents, and surviving spouses. It included 53 individuals and 32 family units, so 2 or more individuals in a family. The majority of our clients were OEF and OIF veterans, which was about 46% of our clients, followed by Desert Shield, Desert Storm at 28%, and then Peacetime at 18%. As mentioned, we'll be asking you for $125,000 to continue our financial assistance. For peer support, we also received $300,000. It allowed us to hire 1 licensed social worker and 1 intake specialist. Our social worker conducts a biopsychosocial assessment of every client to examine factors that impact their health and their behavior, and then recommends activities for those who lack a support system, may be new to the San Antonio area, or are navigating challenges in their daily life. It also allows her to connect individuals struggling with significant mental health issues to relevant external service providers beyond the means of our capacity to serve. We currently have 62 clients in different phases of support for peer support. We're working within our grant to expand focus on justice-involved veterans through partnerships with the county's 2 veterans treatment courts and the county jail. Our VTCs see approximately 200 to 250 participants total between the 2 programs. And our jail estimates that 1,700 veterans pass through the county jail every year. They're some of our greatest high-risk clients. We're looking to expand the program to focus on homeless and at-risk veterans, as well as our transitioning military, where we often see great friction as they leave the military into civilian life, and where the VA sees the preponderance of veteran suicide immediately following transitions. Our prior activities included hunting and fishing trips, animal-assisted therapy, painting, bowling, and even a female veterans wellness day just yesterday for 8 female veterans. Upcoming activities include hikes, cooking classes, pottery classes, and more. The key takeaway is that the activity is not the focus. It's the act of getting those veterans together amongst each other. One of the unique aspects of both programs is that as the county VSO, we can help provide a more comprehensive array of access to services that range from assistance with VA claims, employment and transition services, as well as referral to other programs and services within the community. So I talked about data. I want to quickly talk about people.
1 minute remaining.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Hayes learned about the financial assistance program while in our office filing her VA claim. Facing an eviction judgment, our team attended her court hearing and advocated on her behalf, where we negotiated with the apartment complex to allow her to stay. We also assisted with utilities to help provide a more long-term stability so she could pursue financial security. And then Mr. Vega, briefly, a Vietnam veteran struggling with dementia. Also following his claim, he came in with his daughter, Monica. He began participating in our events where she says he found a renewed sense of being. At one of our events, for the first time in years, he served himself his own food, which his family had not seen in years. And though a small task or act, it filled their hearts. And he continues to be involved. She says, I feel like I have my dad back, as her kids want to spend more time with their grandfather and take him to events. So those are 2 examples of the lives that have been impacted by these programs. So I appreciate the opportunity to tell you about them and our gratitude for the support we receive from y'all. Thank you.
Perfectly timed. Thank you. Keith, can you hold on 1 second? Yeah. Hold up. Don't run away. Okay. Wanted to ask you, have you gotten, since this sounds like this is the first year that you've had this grant, correct?
So the financial assistance we had a number of years ago before I got here, but these were renewed recently. The peer support is brand new.
Okay, so, but the amendment request is not for the peer support, it's for the financial assistance.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes,
and so for the financial assistance, you had one years ago, but this is the first of this grant year cycle?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is why you had to hire people to come on board?
That's correct.
Okay. And so have you had more clientele for that service than you expected?
I don't know if necessarily more clientele, yes. I think it's the need that's greater than what we anticipated.
The dollar amount.
Yes, ma'am. And so we put in there the average, we anticipated about $700 to $800 per person on a rough, do the math. What we found in the number we put in there, the 140, that was divided by the total dependents. But when you look at family units, individuals in the 32 family units, it actually comes out to an average of about $2,000 per kind of entity that's requesting assistance. So that was much greater than we projected.
And you guys are all county employees.
That's correct.
And so you have to follow county laws and compliance, and you have internal county audits that go on.
Absolutely. So we go through the same procurement process, if you will, a purchasing process We have the budget office involved, the auditor's office involved, and you're exactly right.
Okay. I state that, commissioners, just so that the risk is a little lower here because this is a government that has a...
Right. And obviously a lot of focus on these to make sure we get it right.
Okay. Thank you, Keith. Any other questions by commissioners of Keith? And then we could call Elaine up if we have a Elaine question.
Quick one for Keith. Keith, thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
Very impressive program. Are we seeing we've never had this amount of money come in, request for immediate needs assistance over and above the grants that we've given. Are you starting to see something happening out here that we need to be aware of on a go-forward basis as far as the need of veterans coming in, et cetera? Or are you just doing a better job of outreach?
I think it's a combination of both, to be honest. You know, San Antonio's been recognized for having some of the most impoverished areas, challenges with homelessness, and definitely awareness. You know, I've put significant emphasis since I got to the department on raising awareness of what we do. And what we're finding is a lot of these programs are coming from individuals simply looking to file a VA claim. They're not necessarily coming to us for financial assistance. They're finding it through other means. We're actually having a meeting with our tax assessor's office in the next couple of weeks, because what we're finding are folks that are missing out on property taxes, which can be covered under our mortgage and escrow, in some cases being foreclosed by the county for failing to pay property taxes. So we're going to increase awareness in the tax assessor's office of the program as well. And a lot of it is back to a governmental entity. You know, they look to the government for assistance when they're in need. So we're seeing a lot of that.
Excellent. Thank you for the affirmation on USA Care.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Keith. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Any questions of Elaine on this amendment request? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the amendment request for additional $125,000 in grant funding for the Bexar County Veteran County Service Officer grant for an increase of 50 clients of its performance goal for the 2024-2025 grant period?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion?
I'd like to make a comment on there. While I do believe they're not coming in and asking for 150% of what they've already been granted, there is the county auditor, but it always just thinks it's a good idea. I'm going to make a recommendation that, of course, we should follow up when we give more money to, ensure everybody's in compliance. But I'm not going to make that an official amendment request.
Okay. No, I do think that's a great comment, and maybe staff can consider that as a driver for future on-site visits if there's an amendment request that drives an on-site visit. That would be very helpful, so then we don't have to have contingent of site visits.
And also that they appear and face questions. I would throw that out there as well for a recommendation for staff. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Elaine, for bringing all those forward. I appreciate it. Last item on the agenda is agenda item 6G, which is action regarding 2024 Media Award winners. And I'll ask Jim Halbrook to come up and present this. And we will be voting on this. This is voting on who wins the Media Awards.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Palladino. I'm Jim Halbrook, the Public Affairs Officer for the Texas Veterans Commission. And today I'm presenting our recommendations for the winners of our annual Excellence in Media Awards. These awards recognize exemplary research, coverage, and production by news media of stories which bring attention to veteran topics and issues that impact their well-being. These nominations were broadcast between January the 1st and December 31st of 2024. The awards competition, including the call for nominations, the evaluations, and the winner's trophies, are production of TVC's communications team. In addition to recognizing these valuable stories, these awards strengthen our media relations across the state and provide closer contacts with reporters around the state. The nominations opened on December the 12th, 2024, and closed on January the 9th. A call for nominations went out to over 1,200 media outlets across Texas. The nominations are evaluated as to how they inform the public about issues affecting veterans and their families, their impact, their effectiveness of approach, and production quality. This year we had a total of 30 stories that were nominated. In your commission folders, you'll find the recommendations for the award winners and links to their stories. If you would like, I can provide a brief description of each. Go ahead.
Let's do it.
All right. In the TV category, we recommend Veteran Voices, Healing Trauma Through Song and Instruments by reporter Jennifer Sanders with KXAN here in Austin. This story covered the nonprofit Soldier Songs and Voices, which provides free instruments and songwriting lessons to veterans as a form of therapy. The story included interviews with veteran participants, the program organizer, and included segments of veterans playing guitars and singing together. It also interviewed our Veterans Mental Health Director, Dr. Blake Harris, which was included in the broadcast. In the print category, we recommend East Texas Veteran Suicide Sparks Criticism Over VA Healthcare by Catsy Harrell of the Tyler Morning Telegraph. This story highlighted the issue of veteran suicide and provided resources for counseling and prevention. In the story, a veteran son recalls his father's personal struggles, the attempt made by his father to get VA care, often with his son with him. These turned out to not work, and ultimately, the veteran did commit suicide, sadly. The story went on to provide information on various organizations, resources, and therapy programs for veterans, for their well-being, for their mental well-being, and for suicide prevention. This included giving contact information. In the radio category, we recommend Veterans Exposed to Chemicals While Serving in Panama Canal Zone Seek VA Care by Carson Frame of Texas Public Radio. This story brought to light the exposure of service members in Panama to toxic herbicides and pesticides. Their location is not covered by the PACT Act, though their exposures and health conditions are similar to those of other veterans who served in other theaters who are covered by the PACT Act. It further covered advocacy efforts for these veterans to be eligible for the same benefits provided to their peers deployed in other locations. The VA is now seeking information from these veterans, and the story included how veterans could get involved. In the photo category, we recommend Honoring Sacrifices, Central Texans Visit Traveling Vietnam Wall and Temple by Temple Daily Telegram photojournalist Elliot Hemstreet. These photos show a young teen boy paying his respects at a 9/11 tribute of a traveling exhibit and also of an older lady searching for a name on the traveling wall replica. The exhibit was hosted by the Texas State Veterans Home in Temple. Photos ran on the front page and encouraged patriotism and displays of respect and appreciation for those who served, and it also promoted visiting the traveling exhibit. So those are the recommendations for the award winners. Next, we have the runners-up, which I'll give you a brief description of each of those. Our TV runner-up is Veteran Gets a New Home Just in Time for Christmas by Taylor Justice of KFDM in Kirbyville. This story highlighted a local nonprofit's efforts to decrease homelessness by building a community of tiny homes for veterans. It presents one potential solution for providing housing. The story showed that the homes are more than a place to live. As the program founder, an Air Force veteran, tearfully stated, "It's not just giving them a physical place to live, but giving them a psychological place to rest and to get their soul back." In print, we have two runners-up. Claim Sharps, helping veterans. Companies charging fee to up VA benefits are on the rise. This was produced by Joseph Barr and Brenton Johnson of the Killeen Daily Herald. This story shone the light on the predatory practices of those who charge us to give veterans assistance with claims, and it also included naming such local services. It served as a warning to veterans, informed them that they should not pay for such a service, and directed them to appropriate local services. Our other runner-up in the print category was Ellis County Veterans Treatment Court to Help Veterans Who Broke the Law Get Back on Track by Chris Rourke with the Waxahachie Daily Light. This story highlighted the fledgling Ellis County Veterans Treatment Court. It gave an excellent description of how the court works, the positive outcomes it presents, and it included the TV grant that supported it. In radio, we also had a tie for runner-up and had 2 runners-up. One was Caring for Veteran Caregivers by Bonnie Petrie of Texas Public Radio. This story brought to light the challenges caregivers face, including depression at a higher rate than average. It also included research on the challenges and a newly created military veterans caregiver portfolio. Our other radio runner-up was Veterans Can Lose Their Gun Rights If They Can't Manage Their Finances. Is It Time for a Rethink? By Carson Frame of Texas Public Radio. This story presented that veterans across the U.S. hesitate to seek mental health care through the Department of Veteran Affairs for losing their right to possess guns. It is noted that the VA may report to the FBI veterans who are unable to manage their finances and require fiduciary. This practice is intended to help veterans but may be harming them. That concludes all our winners and runners-up. Pending any question, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Jim. Is there any questions on the media awards or the people presented for the winners? No? Thank you. There was a lot of people that I recognize in those articles, and I know we've given Carson before at Texas Public Radio Awards previously. So
Yes, ma'am.
She seems to be pretty prevalent in that area. Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll take a motion. Do I hear a motion to approve the 2024 Excellence in Media Award? What?
So moved.
Okay. Hear a motion from Commissioner Dale. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have a comment. Thank
Jim.
you.
If I could ask you a question.
Oh. A little out of turn, but I'll let it.
Well, no, it's. I just want to ask a question about presentation, not about the actual the award approval. So, what is the plan now? What will be the plan to have the commissioners and the leadership go out and present these awards to the winners and the runner-ups?
Presentation of the awards will be, that opportunity will be provided to the commissioners. We still have to get the awards produced and notify the winners. And it's generally taken about a month or 2 to get the awards produced. And if it's not in, the availability of the commissioners, we will either find someone else to present them, or many of them opt after that to just have them mailed to them directly.
Okay. So, but we intend to try to present them in person if not,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, I do not know of a reason for us to go into executive session today. And with that, let's discuss our next meeting. I have our next meeting planned for May 15th, 2025 at 9 a.m. This is our big meeting where we do grant approvals. May 15th at 9 a.m. Is any concern on that date? Okay. We will be here in this room for that meeting. Okay. So with that, our next meeting is scheduled for May 15th, 2025, right here in the George H.W. Bush building, boardroom 4.300 at 9 a.m. So now I'm going to ask any commissioners if they have any closing comments. I'll start with our Vice Chair, Dale.
Again, always amazed at our staff. I just want to thank you for everything you've done. Thank you, Darren, for being here on behalf of the VLB. I think it's been a game changer having a relationship over there. And you all have a safe holiday weekend.
Thank you. Commissioner Barber?
Yes. Obviously, there's a lot of volatility out here in the public sector. As an old commodities trader, volatility means opportunity. So understand that we've got your back, the governor's got your back, and just stay focused on the mission. So thank you all for being focused on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes, I just want to thank the commissioners and the staff that are available to come out to activities that are happening throughout the state. Us as commissioners appreciate the support of the district representatives when we interact with our partners of the VA, the elected officials at the federal, state, and local levels. And it really is refreshing to be represented at the TVC to be able to tell the communities of our work. And I want to especially recognize the media for the work that they're doing to be able to put the word out that the TVC is helping veterans and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wright?
This marks the end of my first year. It has been an absolute honor. And I have to say to the staff, you continue to impress the heck out of me. You continue to make us, and when I say us, I speak for the other commissioners, I speak for the veterans in the state of Texas. You make us look good, and I am so proud to work with all of you.
Thank you. Tom, do you have any closing comments?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. I forgot to introduce our new general counsel, if you have not met her, Kirsten Erickson, who previously was at the Texas Attorney General's office, who I'm proud to say is now our general counsel. And her paralegal, a legal assistant, is Donette Cadena. And so they're here and giving very good advice in reviewing all of our documents and ensuring we comply with the Open Meetings Act and giving ethics training and conflict of interest training to the staff, advisory committee members, and in the commissioners. And as a reminder, the commissioners do an update on their training every year, and they're going to participate in that. I want to thank you all for what you do, and we couldn't do it without a team effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And I was going to comment on the same thing. We have onboarding, and we also do our annual training just like you do. So, so we're in that same boat. Again, I just want to thank everyone for your support. I enjoyed spending the holidays with you for the holiday party. Had about a month off there of seeing everyone, and it kind of felt like I was missing everyone. And then it got really busy very quickly. So, looking forward to a great session and also a great spring leading up to this grant cycle. A lot of great work happening. Really appreciate all the support. Makes it very easy to represent an amazing agency that does everything very well. So thank you very much. And you will probably see me on a few around here a little bit more during the next few months. And I'm glad to support events. I really appreciate the extra work. I know it takes staff to go to these outreach events. I know. Thank you, Commissioner Hernandez, for bringing that up. We go to maybe 1/5 of them. So that means that you guys do much more. So really appreciate all that support. And thank you for what you do for veterans. Happy Valentine's Day. That is all I have. With that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. The meeting is adjourned.